show is called In a Lonely Place. You know, I thought about it first because named after a Smithereen song. Those guys are like my friends coming up in college radio and playing my benefits to raise money for the college pledge drive. And they wrote the song named after the Humphrey Bogart movie, and they had a duet with Suzanne Vega. And I lost Pat Denizio. He was a great friend of mine who, was the singer and the songwriter in that band. But of course, the other three guys I'm still super tight with. Also, New Order had a song called In a Lonely Place. So, but I thought the fact that what meant the most was it was a way to say, hey, we're all sequestered, we're under quarantine, but the beauty is we still have a way to stay close to each other. And the most important thing of all is that we stay in touch with our loved ones. We do our best for their mental health, and that music is the most important thing. Man, like as a kid, I know I would sit and listen to music by myself or the radio, and I also used to love to go out and turn everybody on to music, but music's been the thing that's gotten us through everything. What's beautiful about doing this show is it's a way for me to help out with Music Cares as we raise money to help out musicians and everyone on every spectrum of the music industry that right now has had their life disrupted. And I've said this before, my family, everybody's been laid off. It's been a kind of a tough time, but I'm here for them and I love them very much. We all have families. And for me, my music friends have been a family to me as well. And my guest today is Brian Vander Ark, who is a guy I love. I mean, I met him 25 years ago, which is so amazing. And the Verve Pipe, I love that record. Villains was so great. And we became friends. And there was this thing where I guess like anything else, you're kind of coming up together, you're doing different things. And I was turned on to them. And so there's this amazing, all these things that happen in succession. But it was a friendship that Brian and I have had for 25 years. And I'm so happy to have him on today. I love his voice. I love his songwriting. And I'm really psyched to have him. Brian, what's up, buddy? How are you, man?
Hello.
You're in Michigan, right?
I'm in Michigan. It's dark and cold here.
Yeah. How are you dealing with that right now, man? I mean, your children, how old are they?
Oh, my kids are 14, 9, and 4. So we're right in the mix. And, we're homeschooling and the whole thing, and they're being creative too. So it's pretty good. We're reconnecting, unexpected reconnection.
Yeah. I mean, you've always had this, your spirit for me was always something that I loved. And our story is really there's a lot of funny parts of our story together. So Rick Krim was actually helping out also with the show and booking it. And Rick, when he left MTV with a couple of other people, it kind of opened up a door for me to go in the music department. Rick is just one of my best friends, and he signed your publishing, Not a Surf. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I remember, calls me up. We not met, but we knew of each other. And he calls me and he goes, man, how would you like to come see this band with me that I signed their publishing? He goes, it's in your old home area, Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool, man. I'll go down. I'll call some of my friends. We'll go see them. They're called the Verve Pipe. And so we get in the car, and that's the first time he and I actually hang. We're playing records, and he plays me Not a Surf's Popular. And Matthew Cross, I love them. And later on, I end up spending time with the cheerleader chick, Sarah Sebastian. I meet her on the street, and we're fighting over a cab. And she goes, I was on your show. I go, oh, you're the cheerleader chick. Whatever. And people were like, because she obviously was extremely, whatever. So the point was, she goes, why don't we hang out? So she comes to the studios at MTV, and she picks me up in a car. And she goes, let's go have fun doing Forest Hills. And there's another part of the story that's pretty interesting. I got to know her. I went and spent Thanksgiving with her, family, and, it's just some funny stuff. And she was awesome. But it's connected to Peter Gabriel. So when we get into the albums later,
yeah,
that's something really fucking funny to tell you.
Peter was there?
Oh, well, no, I was staying at her apartment up in Harlem on 125th or 27th Street.
Yeah.
And I had my toothbrush and all that stuff in my office. So I'm standing in the bathroom and I'm like brushing my teeth. You know me, I'm like, you know how I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And I go, Peter Gabriel's pissing right next to me. And I go, well, Peter, is that you? He goes, yes. Oh, I go, hey, man, have you heard Heather Nova's version of I Have the Touch, which is on the new John Travolta Phenomenon soundtrack? He goes, no, I haven't. I go, well, I got an extra copy in my office. You want to come? And Peter Gabriel walk around the back area, and I give him the record, and I'm asking him, are you going to do Lamb Lies Down on Broadway? You guys get back here? You're going to do it,
Yeah.
These records. And we had this great conversation. And then what I realized is he's there for a meeting with the real heads of Viacom, meeting for his charity and
right.
his human rights company Witness, which was so great. And he goes, why don't you come in, Matt? And I walk him to the room and I look and I go, hey, Peter, go have something else to do. Can you imagine if I walked in there with all those people? They would have been like, what the fuck is here? So I think it was funny as shit,
I think more importantly, people want to know if Peter washed his hands after he used the restroom. I mean, that's kind of information that you would have.
He certainly did. Gabriel's a gentleman, and what a beautiful guy, right?
Yeah.
And, but anyway, so Brian, I got to ask you. So I'll just quickly. I come down to the show. I mean, I want to let you talk, but
yeah,
I was blown away. I was also very pissed because there was another band playing in town, and I know that I'm not going to mention who they are. I didn't really like their new single, who they were, and it was somebody I already knew too. But I'm like, why the fuck isn't everybody at this Verve Pipe show? I'm pissed off about it. I'll never forget how funny that was. But everybody was there. We were blown away. I love Villains. I loved that cover, which a lot of people don't know you did of Strawberry Fields Forever.
Yeah.
And I have friends who would literally play that for everybody. It's one of the greatest covers of that song ever. I mean, Candy Flip did it in the UK, but it was, your version was like this. It was just so explosive and very different. And it's really hard to cover a Beatles song or a classic like that and actually do it justice.
You have to make it your own. I mean, you have to do something different with it, I think, in my opinion, and the reason we did that in the first place is because we got the gig opening for Kiss for 30 dates. And we knew, nobody knew us at that point. We knew we would have to play a cover and it'd have to be a cool one. And I knew that Gene and Paul were big Beatles fans. And so we did Strawberry Fields with the heavy guitars and the whole thing, and then tore our strings off our guitars and that silliness. But it ended up going over great. We did it for years. I mean, we loved it. That was the only song that went over at the Kiss shows, by the way, for us. But
I mean, here's the thing. Even Alice in Chains, everybody played with him. Everybody wanted to obviously play with him.
Yeah.
I did come down for the Atlanta show with you. We hung out there. Actually, the first time, Gene Simmons walks up behind me in his full makeup, and I just hear, Pinfield. And I'm like, holy shit, it was pretty crazy. And you guys actually did a great job. And later that night, there was some really funny shit that went on with with Doc McGee and you, me, and Paul Stanley. It was just like this kind of surreal, crazy thing. But
we'll only tell the stories if you want to. I'm happy.
Yeah, we'll get to those. But I really want to get to the fact that one of the things I loved about you guys, and there was something going on at that period of time where you had the indie record and the version of Freshman that was on there was so important to everybody in Michigan. And Michigan's a town where if it ain't like Motown, rock, whatever it is, if it was Bob Seger, Iggy, MC, Alice Cooper, MC, I mean, you got to put your fucking heart and soul into performing.
Dude, the bar is really high in Michigan. I mean, there's so many great bands. I mean, there's so much history here too. So we were fortunate that we had the success we did, for sure.
So I know that all of a sudden RCA figured out and knew who you were, and there was this buzz. And it was similar to what happened with Dave Matthews, because Ants Marching was on his indie record, their indie record. And then they did Under the Table and Dreaming. John Mayer with Room for Squares. Hootie, like down in Columbia, like people all over. Like it was a time when you could actually build out of an indie scene and the college playing scene.
Yeah.
Talk about how you formed the band. I mean, you and your brother Brad.
Yeah.
And Bonnie and everybody, but tell me how your band formed and what was that like back then? Because you were like building this following and people really were coming out for live music. The thing we're missing the most right now. So tell me about
we took two bands that were essentially cover bands. And we put them together because I was writing songs, and we put our heads together. And we kicked out the other members, and so there were four of us back then, and formed this band. And then we just promoted the hell out of it. We wrote songs. The Freshman was the song that really grabbed people. I had already written it back then. In 1992, it was on our first independent record, and I knew that we were doing great things, or things were happening for us when I was walking across campus of Michigan State. I was doing the walk of shame. I don't think I had a shirt on. I think I might have had leather pants on. And I'm doing the walk of shame.
But you mean after a rough night?
After a rough night. And I hear out of one of the dorm rooms, I hear the Freshman coming out of a dorm room. And I'm like, here I am in the middle of a field with no shirt in the middle of campus. And I'm like, I've made it. This is it. This is as good as it gets.
You know, it's funny. My friend Cliff, who did the logo for this, reminded me that when we were at Reading in 1992 with Nirvana, The Wonder Stuff, and Public Enemy, and all these bands, we were staying in the Wonder Stuff's like rehearsal space, which had a little apartment but if you got too drunk, you had to climb up and down a ladder. And so we woke up the next morning hungover as you can ever imagine. And what I didn't realize, because it was no longer the weekend, I'm walking down the hallway with underwear and you can't see it. And I look at every fucking window. It's an office with women like typing away. And me walking to the bathroom to take a shower. It's pretty fucking more embarrassing shit than I've done in my life. But I got to tell you, so you knew that at that period of time. How did the deal come down where RCA realized and reached out to you? Tell me about that.
You know, we had 6 or 7 labels come out, and then including RCA, and they all passed. And then one time, Brian Malouf, I don't know if you remember Brian Malouf.
I love Brian. Yeah, Brian was a very great A&R guy, man.
Great guy. He came and saw us at Club Soda in Kalamazoo, a small club, about 400 people. And he came in, and we just figured he's just another A&R rep, whatever. It's not a big deal. He gets out there and play. He comes back afterwards, and he's got a notebook. And he says, that was a great show. I got some notes for you. And we're like, no, it's what the fuck is this, right?
Yeah.
And he's got that song, Penny is Poison or something. He said, that needs a bridge. This and this. Yeah, he's like, you got to do this on this song. You got to do this and this. And he had all these notes. And I was like, this guy made an impromptu set list, not knowing any of our songs really, before these songs were even recorded, and told us what we had to do. To make these songs better. And we were like, he might be the guy. We gave him a demo tape, and he came back a couple weeks later and said, come to RCA. And we were like, RCA? There was nobody on RCA at that time, Matt. In fact, they had ZZ Top, which were still a little bit big then, but they also had this new guy named Dave Matthews. And so I'm telling everybody, yeah, we're signing. They got, ZZ Top and Dave Matthews, and everybody's like, who the fuck is Dave Matthews? Like a year later.
Yeah, I know exactly, man.
But that's the thing, as you know, if you're a young band back then, you want to get attention, and there were only a handful of bands on that label, so we were able to get a lot of attention, and that helped us out. That was our manager's move. It was a really smart move, really smart.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And Lou Robinson from RCA Records, a guy I love dearly, man, like the biggest Van Halen fan ever. So he has 2 kids named after members of Van Halen.
Yeah. But I totally forgot about that.
Lou was one of the just coolest guys. I'm working in the MTV music department, and there were a lot of really great people that we dealt with. And I had the experience of working with people, working me on records before they were working me on videos when I was running that radio station in New Jersey. So I knew a lot about that. But Lou had so much soul, man. And we did a lot of shit together. So we flew to Michigan for me to introduce you. We became friends. right? You have a funny story that people don't forget. But what's great about it, I was so fucking insane and out of control. Like I was telling
First of all, we were thrilled that you accepted the invitation to come and introduce us. It was in University of Michigan, the Michigan Theater. And you show up at the airport and you've got a lunch sack and that's what you're traveling with. And I'm like, what is going on? You got your change of underwear and a toothbrush. You're walking around with this lunch sack. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is crazy.
It was just true. I was very crazy. And that's the funny thing. Back in those days, it was just like this. It was literally kind of this insane role we were on. And now I laugh at that and I have no problem, literally owning up to all the things in my life. There've been some great things, and obviously I've achieved a lot, but there's been some very embarrassing moments.
Me too, man.
Like at the same time, it builds character. That's what I like to say. But that's really fucking funny. And it wasn't the only time I showed up with a lunch sack. I think it was either Vegas or maybe like St. Louis with Material Issue and in excess or something.
I think I suggested that you make 120 minutes lunch sacks and sell them. I think.
Yeah, I can't believe I did that. I'll bet it was because I didn't go back to New Jersey and get my shit. So I'm like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? I was like, it's not pretty funny. Right? Like, I love the albums that we're gonna talk about that you picked too. But there were things that you and I connected on, besides the songs I loved. But Villains was such a great record, and I loved there was something about there's a song there called "Drive You Mild," second song on the record.
Yep,
I fucking loved so much, and it was so powerful.
Yeah, and
I heard one of your heroes in that fucking song. It was Bob Mould. It was like Sugar.
Oh, yeah, that was all Bob Mould.
It was totally Bob Mould, and like Dave Grohl says the same thing. He's like, fucking Bob Mould, man, And I love Bob because, Bob and Dave Grohl flew me out to Walt Disney Music Hall in 2011 for the Sea of Little Light tribute concert.
Right.
And they called me and they go, you know what? We're either going to have no one host it or you will. And so I went out and it was just a beautiful thing to do.
Oh,
Bob's always been fucking one of the greatest guys. And what a talent, right?
Oh,
you and I bonding over that. But I want to ask you another question. What was it like growing up in your household, with you and Brad? What were you listening to? Because we all start with
I tell you, early on, we weren't allowed to listen to popular music. We were a very Christian family. So we would listen to like the Ray Conniff singers. And they would do those vanilla versions of like, "You Are the Sunshine of My Life," in these 4-part harmonies. And dueling banjos was dueling voices, I think, remember that? So This is what we listened to in Lawrence Welk and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then things lightened up a bit, as we got older. And then we were really into like Beatles stuff. Whatever my older brother would bring home. He actually snuck in a Kiss record once between Tony Orlando and Dawn and John Denver, I think.
That's great.
So then I got into Kiss, but Brad and I had pretty similar tastes. And then getting older, we were into early Police and that kind of thing. And we were in the same way.
With Police, right? I mean, the Police were so important, right? And the song structure, right? I'm glad that you love them because so when you listen to like Outlandless More and Regatta Blanc and those records.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I grew. I mean, the rest of the albums I grew right along with them. Yeah. I was in the Army when Synchronicity came out. I was in the Army, and I was the only one playing that album around everybody else was listening to AC/DC when I was, all the other soldiers. And man, I was cranking up Synchronicity too. And oh my God, that's a great album.
I love that record, man. King of Pain. I mean, all that stuff.
Fantastic.
And I was telling a story recently. It's really funny. You'll get a kick out of this. When we were in high school, we got a station wagon full of friends together.
Yeah.
We bought tickets for the Police for $2. It were only $2 to go see him in Philadelphia at this little theater. And my friend Greg Amici from East Brunswick goes, we're like, go to see the guy. It wasn't Ticketmaster. It was called Ticketron. And back then, there was no online. see, wherever they had an outlet, you would have to go deal with the assholes that worked there. Some
Right.
were cool, and some were like these gatekeeper douchebags with no literally So the best thing I'll never forget, and I've told Sting, Andy Summers, and Stewart this story. We're picking up the tickets for the Outlandos the Amour tour, and the guy behind the counter goes, "Hey, you better fucking enjoy this band while you see them now, because they're going fucking nowhere." We said,
Enjoy them while you can.
yeah, dude, it was the best. Sting loved that story so much.
Oh man,
It was in an army jumpsuit. They were at the Walnut Street Theater. Yeah. Pretty amazing story. So it goes back a long way, but those records are phenomenal.
Love those records. Love those.
And I want to say, I was a little depressed one night recently, and I fucking put on Message in a Bottle. And it's just like the minute you hear that riff, I love that.
Oh my God, so good.
I'm like, okay, I'm good now. I'll be all right. You know, like it was so good. Music gets you through everything. So you and Brad, so what was the cover band that you guys came from? What kind of stuff were you playing?
We were doing all the early 90s stuff. I mean, we were really into the first Nirvana records, so we did a lot of those songs, Plus, we'd pepper in our own songs as well, in that first band. And then when we joined the Verve Pipe, we just, we formed the Verve Pipe. We just threw the best of the cover stuff, like old REM and that kind of thing, and then put in more and more of our own songs. And by the time I got signed, we had nothing but our own songs we were playing. So that's how we got our chops. That's a really good way for young bands to get their chops too, is being in cover bands. And back then, a lot of bands will say this too. Back then, it wasn't respected to be in those cover bands. I mean, you were in a cover band, but that's how we learned how to play and got to know each other. Donnie was a great drummer with Brad. I mean, the combination of
drum and bass, it was fucking great. They were amazing,
Great rhythm section, great guitarist, and that's that if you got the live show to back up the songs that you write, good thing going on.
Yeah, my friend Morty Coyle, who toured with you guys in the early days, said to me, he goes, they were one of the most great, consistent live bands ever, and the nicest guys. They were so nice to us when we were young.
Oh, that's nice.
And I appreciate that in a big way that you did. So RCA puts out the record. Photograph is the first single, right?
Yeah.
Love the song, right?
Yeah.
5 Year Model, like we said, it's definitely inspired by Bob Mould. And then Freshman gets released, and it takes on a life of its own, around
it does, around
the world and around the country. It's like a #1 alternative record. It goes huge in pop, and it just what was that like for you guys?
Well, I can tell you, the first time we recorded the Freshman was with Jerry Harrison as a band. Jerry Harrison produced Villains, and we did kind of a sleepy version of it. And so when Photograph hit, all those people that bought, 150,000 copies or whatever because of Photograph got the sleepy version of the Freshman. And then when they were going to release it as a single, they're like, RCA says, you got to go back and record that. It's because it was the sleepy version. It's like 5.5, 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
And then we got with Jack Joseph Puig, who's a great, great producer.
Yeah.
He produced the Freshman. And then we had to strip that new version of the Freshman on all the new records released. And got a lot of complaints from the early people that bought the album because they wanted the version that was on TV, on MTV and that kind of thing. A lot of confusion. But once all that was abated, we just went, it was off to the races, man. I mean, we played everywhere. We sold, 1.5 million copies, and it was fantastic. It was a great ride.
It was an amazing ride. It was so much fun. And we had so many laughs. And, and of course, it was such a great album. It's interesting how that stuff happens. I was watching, speaking of Detroit and Michigan, great Midwest, which, you know how much I love Midwest people. Midwest has always been very loving of rock too. And I will say that there's a great story in that Hitsville, The Making of Motown, the last documentary, the one with Barry Gordy and Smokey through the whole thing.
Yep.
Best one they've ever done. No shit. I was watching it during this pandemic, and it was a great story. Literally, Barry Gordy would go, well, we put out all these singles, we gotta rearrange that song. So he would literally pull it. Yeah, well, you guys did it. And even then he's they'd go in, call Smokey, goes, oh, we'll do it tomorrow. He goes, no, it's 3:00 in the morning, come now. And they literally the version, which became unbelievable. I think that's cool though. I know that I know people feel that way sometimes when they get a different version of the record.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just.
But as a band, Matt, you go. If we had made the decision to not re-record it because I really like Jerry's version, I'm like, no, we're not re-recording it. That song never would have been the hit the way that it was recorded because it was 6 minutes long. It was slow. Yeah. It was like it just was not going to hit. So
yes, and I agree because I believe you always have to be open-minded. Like my idea, the way I've always looked at everything, is that you're always learning. There may be somebody else might have a different idea of how to handle something, and it's okay to make a change, mid-gear. I mean, it really is, and that was cool. And that's
imagine if that whole situation. Imagine if where we are right now with our mindsets, we're older, we're more responsible, we know these things.
Yeah.
Imagine we could go back, or that happened now, compared to how ridiculous we were as 20-somethings.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh yeah. The funniest thing was, you and I were we're doing 120 minutes, and you and I we always had this joke going. We're like with fake band names, so we were like,
yeah.
And it was so funny because I'm like, we're trying to we're outdoing each other with fake band names. I'm like,
most of them were referencing 70s porn, I think.
Yeah, they were. One was a guy that I knew from New Brunswick, New Jersey, and he goes, "Have you heard the band Ass Gorgonzola?" And I'm like, and then erotica scarves.
Yeah. Oh God.
And I love the fact that we kind of do good shit. We're just being the people that we are and having fun. And we started talking. I go to you on 120 minutes. I'm like, hey, are there any new bands you're really excited about? The shit was always real. But at this moment, we were just we had been talking, we had this kind of thing with you and me going, and you go, Ask Gorgonzola are really good. And I will never forget that. It's one of the funniest
things. Man, so good.
Looking around, people do that. We're young. We're just having a great time, which is amazing.
No consequence,
Yeah, man. I posted a Gary Newman video of Me, I Disconnect From You, because I always loved Newman and, those early records. And they were definitely based on cyberpunk, William Gibson and Philip K. Dick. And I forgot that I'd actually played that video at the end of one of my 120s because I would do this shit. We would do this thing. We wouldn't tell anybody at the company because no one was up at fucking 156. So the last 5 minutes of 120 minutes, I'm like, you haven't heard this band or this record. This is why you should love them. And it was really cool because it was educational, but nobody at the company knew we were doing that. That's right. Doing it. And I think that's the coolest thing in the world.
I think it's great if you maybe push the show a little faster so that you had a little extra time at the end of the show. Did you ever do that so you could do that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty amazing. Hey, so Brian, what's amazing? The thing about getting through this and working through things, at the end, I'd like to talk to you about what you're working on right now. I've loved your solo albums. Oh, your fans. Before I get into the albums, I've got to talk to you about Rockstar because I've had your fans reach out to me online, and I really since I don't, I want to know when people go, Matt, will you ask him? I'm like, yeah, I definitely will. Tell me about shooting Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg. It was real because you're not from it, but you were great. How did it come about, and what was the experience like?
They were looking for Warner Brothers or whoever was doing the music for that at the time wanted a band to write kind of a Seattle-esque ballad. So they put that out there. Rick Krim got a hold of me and said, you should try to write something for this. And I did. I read the script for Rockstar, and then I wrote the song Colorful. And back then the movie was called Metal God because it was the Judas Priest story. And so
Owens, right? Ripper Owens about that.
Yeah, that's right. Ripper Owens story. So I went out there to LA and I gave them the demo and I auditioned for the movie. And then I didn't hear anything for quite some time. And then a script shows up on my doorstep in Michigan and it says Rockstar. And I'm like, what is this now? And I'm looking through and I'm going, wait a minute. What's going on? I look at the back page and my lyrics are printed in the script.
Yes.
And I still didn't even know the song was being used. I was like, I called my manager. I'm like, Doug, I think they stole my song.
Yeah.
He said, no. He said, no, let me go find out what's going on, So, it was in the script. I was thrilled. And then they told me I got the part and I went out and filmed that movie. Great to be with all those actors and Jeff Pilson from Dokken and Zach Wild, and oh my God, it was
And Zach is such a great dude, too.
great, dude, great
Jersey
dude.
boy, like
Yeah.
I'll become, my Jersey thing. I love Zach, and yeah, but Jeff, all those guys. And how was Mark Wahlberg to work with?
Amazing. He championed that song. I mean, he wanted that song in the movie. He wanted to do the whole song, for the whole song to be in the movie. And, to this day, sometimes people come up to us after a show and say, why did you guys play a Mark Wahlberg song?
You ever heard a story about Bob Dylan, how he did House of the Rising Sun on his first album, and this guy Dave Ronk, who was part of the Village folk scene.
Yeah.
He goes, "Hey, Dave, I want you to know, I want to ask you, it'd be cool if I recorded House of the Rising Sun." And he goes, "No, man, I want to work I want to be on my album." And then Bob Dylan goes, "Man, I'm really sorry, man. I already recorded it for my album." Ronk was pissed. And then, so everybody thought Dave Ronk would, when he played, they go, "You doing a Bob Dylan song?" But the next thing, it came back on Bob Dylan. The Animals covered it. It became #1.
Right.
So every time Bob Dylan played it, they go, "Why are you doing that fucking Animals song?"
I know, that's how it felt for us, man.
It's great. Man, I got to tell you something. I mean, I'm really glad I could answer that for your fans. Now, one of the things that we do on the show, as you know this, Brian, is we talk about some of your favorite albums. It doesn't mean, it could mean it's your favorite albums of all time, what you're getting through now. I mean, I know it's hard to pick 7 albums, because when I wrote my book, they asked me to pick 50 albums for each decade. I'm like, are you fucking out of your mind? But I also had, Simon & Schuster, Scribner. It's like, I was just, hey, it's a great publisher. I'm very happy to,
Sure.
I mean, can you imagine the 90s for me? And the 80s, like any of those times. But I love what you picked. So let's talk about the albums you picked.
Yeah, man.
Part of what this show is about. This show is about how much we love music. It gets us through everything. And the first album you picked is one of my favorites, Revolver from the Beatles. Tell me how much you love that and what songs you on there.
I mean, the greatest thing about Revolver is that the fact that, most people say Sgt. Pepper was the first psychedelic album, and I felt like Revolver was. I felt like that's the album where it had the best songs on it. I feel like it was something like there were so many things that were stripped down that made it that much better. You know what I mean? It was like anybody could pick up a guitar and play some of these songs, and that's what I loved about it. Plus the harmonies and the way it was recorded, dude. And For No one of my favorite.
Yeah. Oh my God, For No One and Here, There, and Everywhere on that record are two of my favorite songs ever.
Just spectacular. And then the use of strings, Eleanor Rigby in a pop song. Come on, that was like, of course it's been used over years, string arrangers, but that in that type of song just added to that, to that sound. And it was a familiar voice, and because him from all these years, but he's doing something different like that, and it's beautiful string arrangement.
It's amazing, yeah. And then even songs like She Said, which were dark but really fucking cool, I mean, that's like one of my favorites. I mean, that album, Here, There, and Everywhere too, is one of my, on that flip, like you talked about, like For No One is fucking sad, man. I mean, that song, I love it. It's beautiful. But I mean, that is a sad breakup song. And then Here, There, and Everywhere is like one of the most hopeful love songs ever. Like, it's just brilliant,
That was what was so great about Lennon and McCartney. One could be in one mood and write something, and the other one could be in another mood and write something, and they're both great.
Yeah. Oh, those records are so amazing. And so we were talking before about a guy that we love that was an artist that you and I connected over, Bob Mould, Husker Du, Sugar, and Workbook is, imagine like how the world heard that record when it came out with Wishing Well, and like it was so different. Sugar was after, so like this came right out of Husker Du.
Yeah,
the guy was, and still is, just such a great songwriter,
prolific songwriter,
and I love very dearly. Workbook.
Yeah,
tell me why you love it, because man, that record is so important to me.
I tell you, I didn't know Husker Du at all back when Workbook came out. I had a buddy who had workbook. He had a vinyl copy. I played it. And I was like, what is this? His voice, amazing. Songwriting, amazing. And I listened to this thing over and over and over. And then I bought the cassette. And I used to work for a music distribution company, right? Where we'd go in and I'd stock tapes and CDs and Walmarts and that kind of thing. And every day I would go in and the top of the shelves would be packed to the ceiling with Vanilla Ice and Milli Vanilli and Paula Abdul. And I was like, when is Bob Mould going to be popular? And then I realized the Husker Du connection and went back and devoured every Husker Du record. I absolutely loved him. I mean, and still to this day, I still get his stuff because I love him.
Yeah.
Great autobiography too, by the way. I don't know if you've read it or not.
Yeah, you know what's really nice? Bob wrote about me in it, Sealing the Light, and he said really, really nice things. And I love him because, there's a time when I was going through a rough moment and I took him aside. He came to visit me at the radio station in New York, and I'm like, dude, I'm having a rough time right now with this. And he goes, Matt, man, he goes, get to the center of it. He's been what a great friend, man. I love the man dearly. And I gotta say, that's why it was such an honor for him and Grohl to bring me out for that Walt Disney Music Hall See the Light. It was like Britt Daniel, Margaret Cho, No Age. The night was amazing. It was like, and Ryan Adams did Heartbreak a Stranger in Black Sheets of Rain. And I'm standing there with Bob on the side of the stage.
Wait, who did it?
Ryan Adams.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. And Bob's so funny. We're sitting there, right? And earlier on, it's like me and Bob and Butch Vig and Dave Grohl and his daughters like climbing all over the cat. We're just having a good time.
Yeah.
In between the acts, and I'm doing rehearsals. Who else was there? Oh, Grantley Phillips. Remember Grantley Buffalo?
Oh, of course, yeah.
There were a lot of great people that were there. We were all there to do the thing. And I remember Bob saying, when Ryan was like, doing this, you could hear a pin drop. And Bob looks at me and goes, Matt, fuck, it's brilliant. How do I follow that? And it's like,
doing his song.
Yeah, right. I mean, he was like, and it's so funny because me and Ryan always had this thing. We've known each other for years, but I love that rock and roll album he did. I mean, obviously Heartburn and all those records. I love rock and roll. And he hates that fucking record.
Really?
Ryan Adams, he goes, it's a great album. I go, Ryan, man, I love this Burning Photographs from Rock and Roll. He goes, I hate that fucking album. Hey, my brother, that's good. No, but I love him. I mean, he's a good dude. We've been friends for years. But I will just say that night was unbelievably beautiful. And Bob, the fact that Dave Grohl brought Bob in as a DJ during Wasting Light and then wrote that Dear Rosemary song with him.
Yeah.
It was just so fucking good.
I recommend to anybody that if you're going to, I mean, if those, there are people, I know my fans too, that don't know Bob Mould, pick up Workbook and just listen to it. Give it a couple of listens. You'll be hooked. It's just phenomenal. Yeah. And you can hear not only influences, but our first song on our first independent record is a direct ripoff of one of his songs called Poison Years. Same chord progressions, same harmonies, but we just sped it up.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's what you do. Hey, Come As You Are was the Killing Joke's 80s. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
So,
you said that. I didn't.
Yeah, but I will say, listen, so Nebraska you picked next. Maybe a guy from the Jersey Shore, the first place you and I met, Asbury Park.
Yeah.
Nebraska's unbelievable. It's so brave. Like, it's not even brave. It's like Bruce was like, this is what I'm doing. I just did the river. And this is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm going to do.
That was a heavy influence on the freshmen because you remember in the 90s when freshmen came out in 95, 90, it was actually 96, 97. Nobody was really writing songs that had a linear story to it. You know what I mean? This happened and this happened and this happened. And that's the way Nebraska was for me. Those songs had a great story. And so it was a huge influence on the freshmen, probably more than anything, for sure.
Yeah, man. And State Trooper and all those songs on Atlantic City.
Oh, my God, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was one of those really, really great things,
The first time I heard that, I was in the Army when I heard that. And I used to hide out during the day when I was on the base. I'd hide out in the library. and none of the brass would go into the library to look to see soldiers hanging out there. And the Army had an amazing record collection, Matt. I swear to God.
Yeah, what was in there? Tell us what was in there.
Oh my God, all the old Springsteen stuff, all the stuff. They had all kinds of stuff from the. Oh my God, they had from all the Stone stuff. All the popular stuff, but early stuff. Like stuff that had been forgotten by people. And Nebraska, I picked that up and I said, "What?" I knew Springsteen from Born in the USA just come out. Right. And I was like, I like Springsteen or whatever. Born to Run, that great album or whatever. And I was like, what is this? And it was Nebraska. It was a brand new. And I put that thing on, and man, I went there every day and listened to that record when I was hiding out. Just the headphones on,
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. That guy, I love Bruce, man. He's such a part of my, my history of my area. But I love this uncompromising way that he's always done everything,
He does it.
Yeah, and
feels like doing this, he does it,
Yeah, and I think that's phenomenal. And so the next record you picked is Duke by Genesis, which is, what? I scratched it up in the room like a couple weeks ago because I wanted to hear Turn It On Again.
Yeah.
And I it's amazing because, yes, I love the early Genesis too. I love, Foxtrot, Nursery Crime, Selling England by the Pound.
Yeah.
My Life Down on Broadway is my favorite Gabriel era album.
Great.
But you know what? I will be the first to admit, I don't give a shit what anybody says. I love the Phil Collins era too. And I love songs like That's All and all that other stuff that came after. Yeah. I think, people would like to take a shot at that. And it was funny because Sing Street's one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years. And I've been telling people to watch Sing Street. But there's a funny scene, and it goes, the girl who played, Freddie Mercury's love interest in Bohemian Rhapsody plays the girl in Sing Street, the John Carney directed movie. And those are the guys from The Frames, Commitments. And I got to know them in 92. I went over to Ireland. But I love that movie. Sing Street's one of the greatest. It's the best feel-good movie of the last 5 years. Hands down. Have you seen it?
No, I got to write this down. I don't know anything about that movie.
All right, I'll tell you. It's on Apple for $5.99. It's on Amazon for $4.99. It is one of the greatest films that I stumbled upon.
I'm going to watch it tonight.
Yeah, you got to watch it because you know what? My friend Cliff, who designed this logo, he goes, there's no violence, Nazis, guns. He goes, it's about kids in the 80s that are like, it's like a coming of age story that want to form a band and like love story. It's such a great movie, man. And it's the same guys like they did Once and Begin Again and those movies.
Oh, yeah.
But Sing Street is the hidden gem. It's the
I love
best.
it.
So watch it.
I'm going to.
The soundtrack is The Cure, The Jam, Duran Duran, Motorhead, and then and then the songs that are written for the movie are the funniest fucking things ever. The Riddle of the Model. And it's these kids in Ireland and Dublin putting a band together and trying to make videos because MTV started. It is so good. I love the movie so much. But there's a line in it where he goes, the guy takes off with the girl. And some people found it funny. I found it funny, but I also said, yeah, you know what? I like Phil Collins. But the joke was, the brother is so cool in the movie. He's like this. The older brother's got the Jam albums, the Susie albums, all albums I love, obviously. Usually all that. But he goes, when his little brother comes home and goes, yeah, she fucking got in a car, left with the guy who's playing Genesis. No girl can truly love a man who's listening to Phil Collins. Here's the funny thing, though. That's a funny line in the movie. But here's the thing that I will say to anyone. I love music from every genre. And I think Phil Collins is one of the most talented motherfucking guys around. And I love him. And Duke, for me, was a period that after Wind and Wuthering and some of those albums, I thought Duke was a thing that came. I love Turn It On Again. I love Misunderstanding. Those songs are great.
Misunderstanding is a great song. And that's when I first got turned on to where Phil Collins' voice first really turned me on was Misunderstanding. That was a big hit. That'd be like 1980, right? 1981.
Yes, it was.
I was in high school. And I bought that album. And it's a conceptual album. It taught me as a writer, it shaped me into knowing that you can take your time in a song. You don't have to rush from the intro to the verse, the chorus, get to, this and that. You can have a nice long period of sustained instrumentation, and it still puts you in this still mood. It's spectacular album. I love that album. I took over all the other albums.
You know, it's funny. I said something recently. I said, you know what? Any fucking record that I love is fucking cool because whatever I love is great. And like, that's my attitude.
Yeah, you know, the same way.
Some people get so caught up on trying to be cool. And, you know, the lowest branch on the tree, they're trying to make fun of shit. Whatever. And you know what? I don't judge anyone who finds a record or something that moves them, no matter what it is, whether it's that gig, you know,
how can you dismiss someone's taste? You can't dismiss what moves somebody. If something makes them feel something, hey, that songwriter, that producer or whatever made that person feel that way, wonderful.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you know, there was a song Phil Collins did on his second solo album, Hello, I Must Be Going, called I Cannot Believe It's True, which was another Earth, Wind, and Fire like horn song. It was an incredible pop song. Great lyrics. I mean, I loved it. I love that record. And I make no excuses. Whatever I love is fucking great, right? Yeah. So that's what I always say to people. And I like so many different things. I don't care if it's super fucking cool or if it's super pop. I was telling the story like maybe on yesterday's show how when I was in a band when I was a kid, this band Thunder, I'm 14, 15. We were playing Bowie, Aerosmith, all the shit I love. I mean, Bowie, you know, of course, all that stuff I love. BTO, Free, Bad Company, even Van Morrison, we did all this shit. But I would go home secretly and go, not secretly, but I heard ABBA SOS on the radio and I love the production. I love that the like layer of 12-string acoustic guitars in the chorus. It just sounded fucking so powerful. But I would make sure the window was closed and nobody knew I was listening. You know, now I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. You know what I mean? Like whatever
great record. Those ABBA records are great records.
Yeah, but I think isn't that great though? But it's like so funny when you're you know, I was an insecure kid. I'm sure everybody's been through it. But
well, back then you could get beat up for listening to the wrong stuff, or at least I could.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing about me was I was always turning people on to new music. I remember going to school with like Tom Petty's first album. Nobody knew who he was.
Yeah.
Going to school with like Thin Lizzy and then like the Police, the Jam, the Clash, Boomtown Rats. I mean, I just loved music, you know, period. So I'm like, you have to listen to this. And I actually bought a row of tickets for Tom Petty, $4 a piece, New York Palladium for the You're Gonna Get It tour. The one with I Need to Know.
Yep.
And Listen to Her Heart. I fucking loved Tom Petty so much.
Oh man, I so miss him.
You know, I could get the hippies that love the Dead, and they're really weren't any punks except for us. We were the punks, but we were like because we were the ones that the Dead Boys albums, the Pistols, fucking you know, Buzzcocks. But Tom Petty was this thing that I could bring the people in my high school together. And they all loved it. And
that's why I say, if I've always said this, if there was a career that I would love to have, it would have been Tom Petty's. As a songwriter, he never put a stinker on the albums.
Yeah,
he changed over the years, you know, but he did his own thing and had an amazing career. And man, it was a gut punch when he died. I was like, what?
The worst. Yeah, it was. You know, it's I love that documentary, right? I mean, a documentary is so good because I love the whole first part of it and so many people have been through this where they were playing him in England, but over here he was still like, it was like culture shock. Like he's on TV there.
Yeah.
Doing anything that's rock and roll and breakdown and then American Girl. Over here, like, here's the truth. I don't know about the rest of the country, but nobody in fucking New York City was playing him on the radio except for WPIX because the other stations might have pretended they were playing him. But they were fucking playing him. And the best part about PIX was they were the station that played Eagles and Fleetwood Mac too, but they were playing the fucking only ones, like imports like the Second Oak Furs. And at midnight they'd play, when it was a new album, I would literally tape it on boombox the whole Tom Petty album before it came out. Or London Calling at midnight, like, you know, like things when they were new. And but I always thought it always irritated me when I was a guy who got into radio that stations would pretend that they were fucking playing Aerosmith before fucking
Yeah,
like
before it happened. Yeah.
they're all full of shit. You know what I mean? And I used to like go, and that's why I wanted to get into radio. Not only I love radio, but I'm like, I'm gonna fucking do it different, man. And that was my whole thing, you know.
Well,
like,
you did. You had a great reputation, dude. Before 120 minutes, everybody knew you. Everybody knew you.
and I'm very grateful, you know, that I got to do. Got to tell you that I got to do what I did, and I was at that radio station on the Jersey Shore, WHTG in Asbury Park, in the woods. Man, it fucking, you know, we got the program. Listen, I didn't make any money, and I went there driving through snowstorms. Finally became music director, then program director. But man, but the trade-off was I didn't care about still DJing weddings or whatever.
Yeah.
And DJing clubs, which I love the melody, but man, I fucking was helping bands. Like the funny thing I think the industry got a kick out of was they would say, you know, it's really nice to have a guy who's looking for reasons to play records, not to not play them. And I was like, so it was so grateful to get the opportunity to work at MTV, you know, which was so great, and get to help you guys. It was just a great time, you know.
Oh, you did huge things for us, buddy. Huge.
Yeah, man. And you know, and believe me, I was grateful. You deserve that, and you know, that's always been my purpose is to spread music and love, and our friendship came out of that. It was really fun. We had some great times. The next record you picked, speaking of Genesis, you picked Peter Gabriel's "So," which is such a genius record. Recently, Harry Styles did Sledgehammer, like on Stern. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I saw it. Great.
You know, and this album is so great in so many ways. In Your Eyes, you know, like I know that actually it's public knowledge now. But Cameron Crowe told me way before it was in documentaries how John Cusack wanted to use like Fishbone with the boombox.
Yeah.
And Cameron's like, no, I don't think so. You know what I mean? And, you know, because
I heard, who did I hear was also I heard that they wanted to use a Billy Idol song too. I thought that was going to be Rock the Cradle of Love or something was the other one, I think.
It would have been absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. Brilliant movie.
Yeah.
It had to be a love song like that. It's so fucking expressive. It has to be great.
But think about Mercy Street too. Mercy Street is a song that it didn't matter. No matter how I feel, I go to the same place every time with Mercy Street. Just beautiful, beautiful place. Calming, meditative. Love that song.
So great. And you know, and Red Rain, like that record is. Listen, you know, like it's funny. I love Gabriel. You know, I like things on the first album, obviously Salisbury Hill. Second album, DIY and On the Air and Perspective.
All good.
All great. And then the third album was where I was like, oh, fuck yeah, because Games Without Frontiers and No Self-Control. I fell in love with that record. And he had like Paul Weller from the Jam playing on it. And but it was also very dark. And the smart idea of taking a Polaroid with a match and melting his face.
Yeah.
Polaroid, like
hey,
that.
You must have heard the orchestrated versions, right? The Red Blood, New Blood, or whatever it is.
Yeah, they were great. They were amazing.
Fantastic versions of those songs. All those songs.
I so love Peter Gabriel. So
me too.
I mean, I will always, no matter what he puts out, I'm a fan of that. And so, I mean, and big time too. There was still the sense of humor. You know, which is so fun. The next record you pick, I love Simon and Garfunkel, and you picked Bridge Over Troubled Water, which was a 1970 album. It was the album of the year. It's an interesting thing because there's so much great stuff that they've done, and it's a funny story. I tell my friend always jokes that I played him Richard Corey off Sounds of Silence, which is a song that was banned because it's about a guy literally. Like he's this, it was Paul Simon. What a fucking songwriter, right? So anyway, so this record though, there's so many great things on it. And Baby Driver, right? And you know,
love Baby Driver. Always wanted to cover Baby Driver. I couldn't get anybody in the band to cover it.
Yeah, and then it becomes a movie and a song and a film, right?
No, I know. Finally it gets its due.
Yeah, tell me why you love that record. I want to know why.
Well, when I was a kid, I'll tell you what, I had good memories of that because my parents had just got divorced. We had an 8-track player. We had that on 8-track. and driving my mom across the state back and forth to move our stuff. We didn't get a moving truck, so we had to drive my mom across the state. And we would listen to that over and over. And the thing about 8-tracks is, you remember that the song would fade down, and
then it goes.
Yeah. It was right at like the 1 minute into Cecilia or something, where it totally ruined the groove. Then come back up again. But we listened to that over and over. Every single song in there is impeccable songwriting, arranging. Imagine starting an album with the song "Bridge Over Troubled Water." Dude.
Yeah, and then
you flip it over, and side 2 starts with the Boxer. They go,
Boxer was just so good, and keep the customer satisfied and all that stuff.
I love that song too, man. I love that. That's top 5 for me. Top 4 maybe.
Those records, dude. I love Simon and Garfunkel. I always explain to people, like, dude, if you haven't heard Richard Cory, if you haven't, I mean, Homeward Bound and fucking Flowers Never Bend with the Rainfall. The lyrics, that shit.
Yeah, he's a poet.
And of course, Shade of Winter always been one of my favorites.
Fantastic. Even the cover by the Bangles, dude, that was great.
It was amazing. It was so good. I was so happy when they did it, because my band, we were on these indie labels like back in Brunswick, and we covered it. You know, like we recorded on a 4-track, but it was cool when they did that and he used it for Less Than Zero.
What a great guitar riff, dude. Such a great guitar riff. You wouldn't think Paul Simon back then would have that kind of guitar riff come out of those fingers. It was such a great, wide-thinking, amazing songwriter. Like, it's just amazing. Now, here we go. The last record we're going to talk about before we go is XTC Skylarking. And I Earn Enough for Us on that record is always going to be in my heart this beautiful, super smart, like, love song. But those fucking guys, like Andy Partridge, Colin Moulding. Yeah. I love XTC so much. And I actually got to see them before he got, that whole stage fright thing. I saw him with the Teardrop Explodes, Rutgers University, Black Sea Tour. Oh my God. That's a great album too.
Yeah, and so is Drums and Wires, one of my favorites. So I have a Drums and Wires t-shirt, actually. But I will let you know, like, man, those guys were... Did you watch the documentary on Showtime? Did you see it? Absolutely. And I went over there to write with Andy. I got to go to Swindon and get in his musical shed with him. And we wrote... Oh my God, it was amazing. I spent 2 days with him in his cottage in Swindon, and which is a lot like Grand Rapids, Michigan, by the way. Overcast mostly. But we sat in his shed. We sat on amplifiers, and we had a microphone between us, and we would just turn it to whoever had a song idea. And we filled up a DAT tape full of stuff. And then we wrote a song together called Blow You Away that was in the Avengers. Remember the first Avengers movie with Uma Thurman? And it was on that soundtrack, a song called Blow You Away. And that was me and Andy Partridge wrote that song together, and the Verve Pipe recorded it. Yeah, that was thrill of a lifetime. Of anybody I could sit down and write with, I mean, in line with Paul McCartney even, I might choose Andy Partridge. That was a blast. Yeah, I mean, you think about it now too, like, people have way too much fear to speak their mind, but that Dear God was on that record, and it was originally on the single. Yeah. I mean, today, people are afraid to have any freedom of speech, but that fact that actually became a hit, and of course, they had death threats, like, all over. Well, remember, it was a college DJ, right? They just flipped it over. It was a B-side, right? Yeah, it was a B-side of a 12-inch. What is this? Yeah. And then that ended up bringing them, bringing so much controversy along with them. And who are these guys? And if you listen to the lyrics now, you go, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I love those guys. You had that Beatles sensibility. And I mean, fucking all those. They were like the Beatles. I always felt like, in Skylark in particular, I felt like it was the Beatles made another White Album, like right after. You know what I mean? It was like the Beatles broke up, and then they continued on, and they turned into XTC, and they made Skylarking. I mean, that album to me is a White Album. I love it. Yeah, Todd Rundgren, man. Like fucking Todd. Oh my God, yeah. Last, I love him. I was like I was saying, you're pulling out albums to make you feel good through this pandemic. And I put on the fourth side of Something Anything. The one with Hello. So good. Yeah, and so I've had these conversations with him, and Todd, when I interviewed him, and I remember saying, man, that fourth side with all the laughter. He goes, man, we cut that live. Like, that was like crazy. All the laughter and the stopping. No, I love that. The first time I heard that, I was like,
what was I didn't know what I was listening to. The first time I was like, what's going on? And then I realized I'm actually in the recording studio with them.
Yeah.
Like, nobody was doing that then.
No, they weren't. And,
Good.
I mean, him finally getting his Nas song with him singing it, becoming one of his biggest hits, Hello, It's Me.
Yeah.
But then right after that year, You Left Me Sore and Slut. I just loved, there was so much, that record was so much fun. And then like the most Beatles song on it was Couldn't I Just Tell You, which was so cool. But anyway, and then I want to talk to you, before we go, I want to just say, hey, Brian, you never won a Grammy necessarily with a Verve Pipe record, but you had a Grammy hit for Dolly Parton or something like that. Like, tell me about that. Is that true? I heard this.
For once, you got something wrong.
It's not right. Who was it?
I don't know.
It's not true?
No, it's not true.
Oh, somebody was telling me this story.
I wish that were true. I want that to be true so bad, Matt. You have no idea.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me to go, dude, Brian wrote this song for Dolly Parton. I'm like, really? I'm like, oh. So
you know what? Let's say I did. It's a better story.
Yeah. You know what's wild? You know whose birthday is today? Glenn Campbell. And would have been 84. His son, Cal Campbell, is one of my close friends. We were neighbors right in here, man. Like, we'd sit in here and listen to records. And he's in Beck's band, and he's a band called Steven Dreams. And I love his dad, Glenn Campbell. I mean, I love those Jimmy Weber.
For the county, come on, that was one of the best.
I will say that like one of my favorite moments I was talking about earlier was on the 50th anniversary of Wichita Lineman. We went out to this little bar down the street because you can't do that now, obviously. We're just chilling. We weren't getting fucked up or anything. We were just hanging out. But it's a place where you play album sides.
Yeah.
And I said, fuck it. And I brought my singles, like a little sack of singles.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Matt, you want to spin? And I'm like, because it was the 50th anniversary of Wichita Lineman.
Yeah.
Spun it 3 times in a row. And me and Carol. They were like, oh, whatever you want to do. So anyway, I feel that. But Brian, let me ask you a question. So what's going on right now? What are you working on musically at the time?
I mean, the Verve Pipe is still making albums, man. We've put out 3 albums in the last 4 years. We're working on a new album as well, and it's just nice to be able to write. Get together and write and play. Tour together, and then I still do solo projects. I did an album with Jeff Daniels here a few years ago. Sat in a room.
That's great. After like he did. Wow, talk to me about working with Jeff Daniels.
Oh, it's amazing. He's a Michigan guy too. He lives in Chelsea, Michigan, and he saw a documentary we made about my house concert tour, and he said he loved it. And I said, well, let's write together. And we wrote together and made an album, and get to go out on the road every once in a while. It's cool when he's not acting,
Dude, that's so great, man. I love him anyway, Jeff Daniels.
Oh, he's a fantastic guy. Fantastic.
Brian, that's the thing for me with you. It was always like, man, I love the fact that you were just always so warm and could work and just go in different directions.
I love that.
Always from the heart and soul, man.
Why not? I mean, why not? I got that opportunity to write music. Why do I have to write in a specific, hole the entire time? You know what I mean? I don't let any boundaries keep me. If a song sounds like this, I embrace that. And the Verve Pipe's the same way, I mean, we go with the way the muse takes us, So.
Yeah. And I just want you to know, man, like I want people, they should literally, if anybody's watching and you haven't gone back and listened to those records in a while, and find your cover of Strawberry Fields Forever. It is just
it's out there.
Fucking explosive. It was great. We'll end it by saying you and I ended up after that night with Kiss, your opening.
Yeah.
We went out to a strip club because I got and we're like,
careful now, careful.
Well, nothing weird was happening. But the weird thing that was happening was that it seemed like a bit of a scam to me that the club like said someone knocked it. And you and I were like totally chill. We were just hanging out. Paul Stanley.
Nobody knocked a drink over.
What do you guys knocked the drink over? And you all and they tried to hold Doc McGee and Les Garland from MTV, one of the MTV creators, over the rails and pay like 50 grand. It was like a total fucking bullshit scam.
And anybody that knows Doc McGee knows he's unflappable.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I love Doc. And Les Garland's one of the coolest guys too. He's like one of the nicest. I love, that was a crazy ass fucking night, but we weren't doing anything crazy. But what was crazy was just watching those guys run game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. To see behind the curtain what goes on.
Yeah.
When you're in the VIP area with Kiss.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Kiss are great, the greatest guys, too. So,
yeah, really
anyway,
good.
Listen, Brian, please send my love to your brother, Brad, to Donnie, to your family. I'm glad you're doing well. It was really, really great for us to catch up today.
No doubt. Good to see you, man.
Love seeing you. We've
too,
had some amazing memories. Thank you for the beautiful music and the great music, and that was a soundtrack for so many people, including myself. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to become friends through everything. And
yeah, man, a big part of my life. You're a big part of my life, brother.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about you, Brian. So I love you, and thank you for doing this today.
Thanks, man.
Means a lot to me, man. So listen, all the best to you and your family, and we'll speak again soon. Okay.
That sounds good, brother. Take care, man. Thanks for having me.
And you got it. Absolutely. Now I'm Matt Pinfield, and this is called In a Lonely Place. So great to have Brian Vander Ark on the show today. Love catching up with him, man. And tomorrow we have Aaron Bruno from AWOL Nation. They have a new album coming out on Friday. And man, we got stories to talk about he already went through some rough stuff with the LA fires. And it's all about kind of staying strong through this and realizing that there's a lot of material things. The most important thing in the world is the people that we love, and they're there. The other thing I want to quickly say is Friday, we have Youngblood, which I'm so pumped about. And I love Dom. I love Aaron. I want you to know that Youngblood is one of my favorite and most exciting new young artists. I called him. I said, Dom, you want to do this? He said, yeah, I'll do it. So it's great. Next week, I got everybody from Johnny Resnick of the Goo Goo Dolls, Pete Wentz of Fall Out Boy, Butch Walker. It's going to be an incredible. We are having the best time in the world. So, and we love doing this. It's keeping us sane, and we hope we are spreading the love of music and the power to you. I'm Matt Pinfield. It's called In a Lonely Place. Keep the music in your heart. I'll see you tomorrow.
Living in the sunset.